Hey everyone, this is Saad for the Sad Truth. Today I'd like to briefly discuss a set of studies that I just covered on my Psychology Today blog, which is currently, I'm happy to report, is number one most read article on Psychology Today. And in it, I basically asked the question, the all important question: does more sex lead to greater happiness? And the answer turns out to be uh, a bit complicated in that it's not only the amount of sex that we have, but rather the amount of relevant others, how much sex that they have, that also shapes our happiness. So, to answer that question, let me kind of step back a bit and discuss this idea of positional concerns. And so, we are a hierarchical species that very much cares about where we stand within some hierarchy. So, for example, if you think about money, yes, money can bring happiness, but what's really important is that I make more money than some relevant other. The idea of keeping up with the Joneses. There's a great movie that came out a few years ago, a funny movie called Keeping Up with the Steins, which was very much based on the idea of this kind of positional arms race, where these families in Southern California are trying to outdo one another in terms of how much they should spend on their sons' bar mitzvahs. So this idea of where we fit in some grand hierarchy is really important to us. A few years ago, I did a study where we looked at one of two options. This is a study that I did with one of my former doctoral students, Tripat Gill. We published it in a journal called Applied Economics Letters. So we basically looked at one of two scenarios. One, do you prefer to receive $500 salary raise and your colleague to also receive $500? Or would you prefer to receive $600 and your colleague will receive $800? So of course the dilemma here is if you choose option B, you make more money, 600 instead of 500, but your colleague is making more money than you are in option 2. And so do you prefer less money but an equitable distribution, or more money but have your colleague make more than you? And not surprisingly, many people prefer to make less money but make sure that somebody else didn't make more money than they did, which this could be construed as a violation of one of the foundational axioms of rational choice. So going back to the link between sex and happiness, several studies, two studies in particular that I discussed on my blog, looked at this link. So in a paper in 2004, two scholars convincingly demonstrated that yes, indeed, there is a link between sexual frequency and happiness. The more sex that one has, uh, the happier they are. And then in a subsequent study in 2014, another scholar replicated this finding that yes, more sex implies more happiness, but with a new twist, the positional twist. What's also important is that some referent group doesn't have more sex than you do. So if you're in the 25 to 34 male bracket, well, then other males that are within that demographic group should hopefully not be having more sex than you. If they are, then this makes you unhappy. So the prescription is have a lot of sex and hang out with folks that are having less sex than you. And there is your path to happiness. Cheers. Remember, sad truth right here.